Thank you, everybody, for coming to today's session. Really appreciate it. So, my name is Holley Handley, and just welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about a project-based learning application for HPT, overlaid with a personal leadership development project. So, I'm really excited about how this project came about. I work at University of West Florida. I'm faculty in the Instructional Design and Technology department there. So I'm going to give a little bit of background of the organization and my role in that organization to better understand how this project was actually born and has developed. So what are we going to talk about? A little bit of the background, a little bit of my background. Also, just a little bit about the EDD for the scholarly practitioner, because all of that is important for the context of how this project was developed and structured. A little bit about HPT as our framework for the dissertation and practice at University of West Florida. Our EDD is based on the framework of performance improvement, and it's real exciting how this has come about. So I would have to recognize Dr. Nancy Hastings. I do. She developed the program. This has been her baby for about 15 years. I was brought on 4 or 5 years ago and have just been an awesome part of this building program. So it's really neat to be on the forefront of developing a curriculum and everything with this degree. So we're going to talk about this came about. I'm so excited about this project and then following the students several years out of the first time they actually did this project-based learning exercise. And then I'm going to show just a couple of voices from the students. We could spend 5 hours truly reading some of their reflections and just how this whole process has positively impacted their life. Yes, learning happened, but so much more happened from this than was even expected. It was those unintended consequences, but this time it was really good. It was, wow, I didn't see this happening and being as powerful as it has been for some of the students. So I decided to give a little bit of background. This was my original research animal. I'm a protein chemist by original training in my former life. I'm Akita domesticus. This was my research animal. This was my problem of practice. I had several research animals. This is Seychelles quinquedans, deep sea crab. I did a lot of carbonic anhydrase research in the protein chemistry world before then. Other pursuits. I worked with Merck Pharmaceuticals for 15 years, an executive professional rep there, where I would train other representatives, really talking about the science and, putting the two together, sales and science, and how to do that. And that was really fun. I loved my career days with Merck Pharmaceuticals as well. Sometimes in spare time, I love kayak fishing. I'm fortunate to live in the Gulf Coast. These are big redfish that I've caught in the bay, right outside my house. I mean, I don't live right on the bay. I have to go put my kayak in. One day the dream would be to have just a house right there on the water. But sometimes unintended things happen, and I do catch a shark every now and then on the kayak. Really not fun if they hook it just right. Yes, they will be hooked in and not break that line. So that's a couple of times I've taken my kids with me, and you don't know what you're going to pull up. I mean, you really don't. You're going, okay, this is pulling like a redfish, but man, it feels like a stingray. Man, this is jumping like a shark. You kind of get to know how the line is feeling, But my son, every time, it's like, it's a shark, Mom. It's a shark. I know it's a shark. I'm like, honey, it's not a shark. So, but it could be a shark. So a little bit about University of West Florida. We are in the Panhandle. We are way right here. We're actually in Central Time Zone. We have about 13,000 students. About 1,900 faculty staff, lots of undergrad and graduate programs, as well as doctorate programs. Specifically, our department, we have Instructional Design and Technology department. We have the undergrad level that was started in 2019, and then we have the master's level, which has been around 20 years, 25 years. That was the original program, and then the doctorate program was brought on in 2020, and as you can imagine, both the undergraduate and the graduate, the EDD, happened right around COVID time. So not only were they new programs and everything, dealing with everything with the pandemic was also a challenge. We are 100% online program, so it was easier for us than a lot of other people in the university because we were inherently online anyway. So just to touch on just very basics, I know this is a horrific slide. Just to point out the differences with the EDD, PhD, it is the degree objective. The degree objective for the EDD, you want to prepare professional leaders and competent in identifying and solving complex problems, emphasis on developing thoughtful and reflective practitioners. PhD, develop competence conducting scholarship research that focuses on acquiring new knowledge. So just in a nutshell, there are a lot of differences. I have the slides and provide this if you're interested in delving more into some of the differences between the two different terminal degrees. So in that developing scholarly practitioners, we have a focus on leading change initiatives, facilitating improvement. The scholarly part is so exciting too, because we help the students research current problems, current literature on how are these complex problems being solved, and in the publications. Looking at others, looking at leadership theories, just like John, you presented yesterday, encouraging them go into the literature. What is the literature saying? How, this isn't just your opinion, you have to have it backed up by scholars in your field, also in the practitioner world. So it's again, combining these two approaches to research and scholarship. Just the dissertation and practice, action research. The students are solving real problems within their workplace. So they are working with key stakeholders. It is a real research problem. It's so interesting. Our students are representative of all different sectors. This is why I was asking when people first came in, industry, government, nonprofit. We have 3 cohorts. We just started, like I said, in 2020. We are interviewing for our 4th cohort right now, and we admit 1 cohort per year. And it's amazing how it's equally distributed between K-12 practitioners, higher ed, industry, and military. So I could tell amazing, fascinating stories about each one of these students, what they bring to the table in the community of practice that has developed. Another whole presentation, I could talk about that, of just that, how they learn from each other and that sense of community that they're building as professionals and practitioners in their field. So, problem of practice, action research. I'm drilling down the more specific, and we are going to get to where we're applying HPT to this leadership, I promise, but I wanted to give a little bit of context here. So in their problems of practice, they have to define a problem of practice that exists in their workplace. This problem of practice has to be urgent, feasible, strategic. It has to be important to those key stakeholders. They have to establish that stakeholder buy-in from the beginning. The change management, that starts from the very beginning of the process, and we talk through that in the very first semester. But there's, what do you teach first? There's such a garden hose. It's like, we got to do everything at once. But you have to choose, okay, prioritize what are the scaffolding, what are the layers of helping the students really feel so confident about being able to do a performance improvement project in their workplace. So they have to, and that is the most challenging part of the program, is helping them understand what a problem of practice is, understand what performance improvement is, and identify what's going to be feasible, actionable, strategic in their workplace all at once. So again, the framework of our EDD is 100%, it's based on the HPT model framework. That's the overall process model. As you know, I mean, during this process, we all teach other tools, techniques, models that you can have a blending, or, there's so many tools underneath each one of those steps, analysis, underneath the intervention, design, development, implementation, evaluation. The overall process is guided by the performance improvement model. What's exciting then is the students have the leeway to then learn about different tools, different techniques, and incorporate those as they see fit, what fits their personality, their toolbox, so to speak, and the organization, and learn that flexibility of being able to do that. The challenge is, as you can imagine, learning the process, doing this simultaneously, and the diversity of the students that come to us. Some never heard of performance improvement in their life. Others, they are practicing performance improvement in their workplace. They have a master's degree. They want an advanced degree. They are accomplished instructional designers. They want to learn more on the overall umbrella process. So we have the knowledge base that comes in is tremendous, and working and making it meaningful for everyone is a challenge and continues to be a challenge, and we continuously improve along those lines. So the crafting the dissertation in practice, this is that ending document. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit, but we just really want to have a realistic end product. And in part of that, as you know, in terminal degree programs, you have a committee structure. One of the cool things we do is we have someone from the individual's workplace on the committee. It would be great if this person has a terminal degree, but a lot of workplaces, you may not have a key stakeholder that has a terminal degree. And then we have someone, you have the chair from our department, but you can have another individual from the university to make sure you have at least two with a terminal degree, and the other one from the workplace doesn't necessarily have to have a terminal degree. They are so invaluable with buy-in, the key stakeholder, access, understanding the organization. I can't possibly know. One of my students, she's amazing. She works with a software engineering company, international company, makes computer chips. They onboard 500 engineers every 3 months. It's amazing. She's over all of the instructional designers, and they had to go and they had to pivot going from face-to-face to live distance learning. You talk about an amazing project, just that in itself, but I don't know that industry, so being her chair, I can't guide on those specific things with their organization. So it's really exciting to work with that. So year one, they do the foundation courses, learn about action research. Year two, they've collected the data year one, they analyze it, decide on interventions through a thorough cause analysis, matching and making sure in prioritization, design, development, implement, and then that year three, they're continuing to evaluate those interventions, but then they're also doing those final write-ups. So the idea is to have the EDD in 3 years. It's intense. It's an intense program because you're learning and taking classes all at the same time. So this was the 3 different steps. Talked about the completed dissertation. We are making incremental changes here. Typical PhD dissertation, 5 chapters. We kind of changed that to 4 chapters. We can only do so many changes when you're looking at publications and what the university expects. Ultimately, we would love for this to be an executive report that you would give your key stakeholders in your organization as this final dissertation. So we're making those slight adjustments as we go forward, working with the doctoral office and the readers, the publications, all of that process. So, big question. How do we teach the process and do it at the same time? Do you introduce front-end analysis one semester and then they're doing front-end analysis? How do you, and you have, in the books, you have case studies, amazing case studies. I have individuals come and speak to my classes. Judy Hale has been wonderful. She has done a couple of webinars and Zoom meetings with my classes. But still, you're all of that information is forward-facing. How do you, the second time you do anything, it's so much easier than that first time. You know that. So how do you make this authentic and relevant where the students really get into it, but not necessarily their dissertation and practice, because they need a little bit of understanding and they need to understand the whole process, because you really don't know how you're going to get there unless you really know that destination and understand what is intervention, implementation, and evaluation. How would I even go about that? That really does help inform how you start the project too. So understanding the whole cycle before just digging in there and doing it, just that level of understanding and confidence. So because the first time you're doing something, you're not that confident. So making it relevant and making it realistic. And I'm always thinking about, okay, what kind of assignments can I do that are relevant? What, how am I going to engage those students where they, man, this is really cool, Dr. Handley, this was really helpful. All at the same time, I'm teaching a leadership course, and we're doing research, and we're looking at the different theories and the models and what fits you, and just doing those types of, again, reading different leadership books, leading different theories, and all. I'm going, so they're engaged in that. It's great. They're learning all different things, and the other, talking about the diversity of the class. There are people that are in the military that are leadership trained. They are John Maxwell certified. You talk about the gamut also of leadership experience. There are individuals that are leading battalions in the Air Force. So again, how do you appeal to all of the different individuals? And K-12 teachers, they're teaching the classroom, never thought about themselves being a leader. They're going, I have no influence in my school. I just want to be a more effective teacher. And that's great too. One of the things that I'm on for a little sidebar, I say you can always be a person of positive influence. Whether you have that title or not, you can be that person of positive influence, and you can make changes that may be incremental. You don't have to have director under your name to make an impact, to be that person of positive change. And so that's another part or side of this class in leadership. So I designed this assignment, and I said, okay, what we're going to do, you're going to be the organization. You are the organization. You, Holley Handley, you're the organization. You're going to do an analysis of where you are, where you want to be. What are those gaps? How do you prioritize those gaps? What's the most important to you? We're going to go through this whole process where you, the student, you are the organization. You're going to look at internal factors. You're going to look at external factors. You're going to look at, again, desired performance, actual performance. You're going to go through this entire process. That was the coolest thing. So the first step was to complete this comprehensive front-end analysis. And I wanted to add the element in there about leadership. It is a leadership course. So I wanted to have a focus, a lens. So yes, the whole big picture of where you are, where you want to be, with a specific focus on leadership and being a leader. As we know, individual leader, group leadership. So where are you in terms of this? And I also added an element just of what we're all faced with now as leaders. Add the element of considering diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. We all have we have feelings when we hear those words. As a leader, you have to address where you are in this space and where you are and where you want to be in terms of considering that element in the current workplace, in current organizations. So I added that element. And so I want to talk about just that authentic learning experience for the students that happened. And truly, it was life-changing when you have a student that writes you and says, this is the most impactful thing that I have ever been through. And the military individual, he had done different leadership things. He's been in the military for 15 years. He even showed his past assessment, skills assessment. I can't remember which one, Myers-Briggs, or just several different things he's been through. And he showed those to me. And then after this process, he's like, that was incredible. It was meaningful to him, who came in with tons, and he runs leadership academies. And it was really interesting to see his perspective as well. And then just bridging this scholarly and practitioner approach and teaching the process at the same time. So I'm going to show some student examples. They're phenomenal. They're incredible. One of the other things, in another class, I introduced online whiteboarding, Miro, Mural, Lucid Chart. And when I first introduced it a couple of years ago, I never used it. And so this is one of those things, as an instructor, you're going, all right, guys, we're going to be learning this together. So I'm going to, this is the constructivist approach. You better believe it, because I know zip, but we're going to learn it. That was an amazing experience in itself. You introduce this age adults, or I know, right? To a technology like that. And I'm pretty good. Oh, they just take this, and it's incredible what they produce. I just, way beyond anything that I could have imagined, but just giving them the introduction to these online whiteboarding tools. It is now, it is here. This was before Zoom had it incorporated into that online platform, but now they know what it is. They have a little bit of experience. Not everybody latched on to it, but now they can speak the language. They have experience with it. So I'm going to show some examples, and the reason I have the brain over here, the concrete examples, what they produced, yeah, it was phenomenal. But it was way more important, how did they feel about it? What was that emotional impact that they are going back and continuing to go back to this process? So this is one example. I wish I could show her Miro board, but I didn't want to try to deal with technology and the links and all of that. I didn't want to take time from being here to do that. And so just think about her Miro board. This is a timeline. So you can go to any part of her analysis by just clicking on those hot links, and this is built in Miro. This is actually one of our students who her dissertation in practice was about chapters in ISPI. So that's another whole thing that we could talk about. But it was, how do we rebrand, relaunch? Should we first? And then how do we, after her analysis, create this vibrant chapter of ISPI in our area, Gulf Coast virtual chapter? That was her dissertation in practice. But before she did all that, this leadership assessment that she did, just talking about the definition, what's the process, again, the model, and then guidelines. So anybody can go to this and understand the process. So she created all of this. So looking at the performance analysis, she looked at the desired state, the mission, the vision, values, what's the current, what's the desired state, and all the time in her Miro board, you can click right here and you can go back to the directory. The design was incredible and so appealing and so informative, very concise. She decided to do a SWOT analysis. So she gathered information in a focus group and she's more of an independent contractor. So she did this with her family. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Did a thorough analysis using this method. Went through the cause analysis, the 5 whys, went through all of the different steps. Wanted to see, okay, what are the causes? Oh, I guess I could use this thing, couldn't I? Who knew? To address those causes of these gaps, the ones that she ranked to be the most critical, conflict aversion, she internalizes problems and balance, and she had different goals that she wanted to address through this analysis. So, just looking at conflict aversion, how is she going to implement interventions in order to address this? What is the balance? How does she strike this work-life balance also while being in an EDD program? How is she then going to evaluate it? And all of these are hot links to where she can journal, where she can track the accountability, looking at different possibilities for retreat. And this was so pretty and so well organized, and the data gathering, the data analysis, she went through this whole process. Her reflection is just one example of so many. The project was more difficult than I thought it would be. However, the challenge offered the most learning and growth. Possessing the knowledge of HPT is much more different than putting the process into action. As I worked through each section, I discovered complexities of knowing when you reach the end of analysis, identifying criticality of each gap, and creating an evaluation plan. Isn't that beautiful? She'd never heard of performance improvement in her life. And my evaluation and change management plan are lacking because I spent too much time on the gap and cause analysis sections. Additionally, I spent too much time on personal weaknesses and failed to consider improving my strengths as part of my intervention plan. What an amazing revelation during this process of also, you've got to focus on your strengths. That in itself, that growth. And one issue I covered is the tendency to internalize problems, which could involve overemphasizing my weaknesses. So she learned a process, but she learned so much about herself too during this entire process. Although I had difficulty with a few areas, conducting a personal leadership assessment is beneficial. I have used leadership tests and tools in the past, but none of the assessments included a cause analysis element. For me, working through the 5 whys uncovered elements of the causes I had not considered in the past. So this is just one of truly 40 examples that are just incredible. And of course, as any scholar would, you make sure to include your references. Another student, this is just one of the results of the full analysis. She created surveys. She sent these out to 20 of her coworkers. She sent this out to her family. She works in a company that have a whole team of Six Sigma experts. They analyzed, did reports, visualized. Her report was about 45 pages of all of the different elements of gathering the data, creating the surveys. And I'll say her real dissertation is amazing. It is incredible, the surveys and the practice and her feedback of how valuable it was to go through this process and realize, man, I really should have asked it this way. And you can read that in books and you can, and the best surveys on the planet, but until you're making those and then analyzing it and really realizing what information do I want? What do I really want? And going through that process of creating the data collection instruments was tremendous for these students. Student 3, he's in the military. He wanted to bring in the vision, culture, system operations, theory skills. He created data collection instruments around these drivers. And again, this is the output of some of his data analysis of looking at the gaps, the gap criticality. And again, and I know this is, but one of the most intimidating things for sometimes with dissertation practice is correctly formatting also. So not only are they doing this, they are also learning some of the mechanics of writing an APA 7, which is so fun. And so then this is his intervention plan. The interventions, implementation, evaluation of causes and change leadership gaps. These are the causes, intervention, implementation, evaluation, the alignment. He got practice on the alignment, and then how am I going to evaluate at the end of the day? This report also is about 35 pages. He's the one who came in and had evaluations from years prior. And it was really interesting. Again, I hate to read such quotes, but I wish you could read the whole thing because, as he starts to, this is his report, he talks, Mark Twain said, I'm all for progress is change I object to. I agree because change hurts, especially change on a personal level, but to grow and adapt in this change. I'm resistant because change brings with it a lot of loss of comfort, certainty, and control. Peterson calls it the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt factor. So he's bringing in scholarly research, he's backing up what he's doing, and bringing it to a real personal level, though, to better understand my FUD factor. I perform this assessment to gain clarity and control of my leadership situation. I expect the process will help us develop new competencies and become more effective. In this paper, I provide the results of that assessment. So that's his intro. So, and then his writing also developed so much as well. It says, I'm going to start this reflection with a painful grimace. I would not say I like self-assessment in any form. I once told an interview panel that I find it soul-sucking. Coincidentally, I did not get that job. So it is difficult to admit your faults. There's no surprising in my findings in this assessment, but I appreciate the exercise. I needed the opportunity to apply the mechanics of different models. This was the most revealing part of this assessment. Theory does not always reflect reality. Isn't that amazing? I experienced some challenges and must do a thorough review of the models to enhance my understanding. In addition, I must commit to implementing the improvement plan. I know from experience that leadership is difficult and I will only benefit from honing my skills. These skills will become increasingly important as I enter my dissertation's intervention and implementation phase. This was his conclusion a year and a half ago. Am I ready to change? No, not yet. As I mentioned in previous assignment, leaders should always look for opportunities to learn and evolve. Personal leadership assessments are once such opportunity. The assignment allowed me to apply performance improvement to better myself and increase my chances for future success. I call that a win-win. He's in the military. He is in the whole process. They need an aircraft carrier. how do we start this process? He is one piece of that acquisitions part. And he actually, from now, he is leading a change effort. It is really incredible. He has developed these interventions. They are in the process of implementation, and he's starting to gather some of that initial, he's done the formative evaluation, some of the confirmative type data for this product. He is leading an incredible change effort in an incredibly huge organization, as we know. And I'll kind of go through these pretty quickly. My approach to the job has changed for the better. Giving my coworkers a different angle, a different perspective. The servant leader in me wants to create a better work environment for my students, my coworkers. I'm trying new approaches, communicating with coworkers and students. This was just how the program actually has been life-changing. Another student, this is his analysis and the presentation. Also a different, this one I think was in Mural or Lucid Chart, but looking at organizational self-analysis. I mean, the way that these are presented to are just, it is incredible. Not just the content, but how it's presented as well. Went through the critical issues as, you know, making sure we're looking, okay, what are those critical issues? Following those steps. Again, not familiar with performance improvement at all, but what they have learned in the textbooks, and then now going through a real project with it. Using the environmental analysis, what I am, what I want to be, what I want to do. Went through this exercise. He then did the gap analysis, looking at current performance, optimal, what are my gaps? I'm going to rank these according to criticality, going through that entire process. He did this with his family as he is looking for his goals. Oh, and this was, I love this. Isn't this awesome? Cause analysis mapping. He's great at mind mapping and just looking and wanting to relate the causes to the different gaps and those gaps that were ranked the most critical. So the short-term goal of his, and he went through the interventions, implementation, begin mentoring others needing similar interventions by 2023. So this was a short-term goal. Evaluation. Somewhere in here he had that he wanted to be a director for a nonprofit. He's in the building industry, and he's doing exactly what he said a year and a half ago that was mapped out in this plan. It's incredible. It really is so neat. This is a student during the process. Not only is she doing her dissertation, and she's doing classes and everything, she decides she's going to open her own business. So this was about a year after she did the initial performance improvement project. Okay, I'm going to leave my profession and I'm going to open my own business. So in the process, she then wrote this in another reflection. I'm reflecting even more than ever before and evaluating throughout each phase of opening my new business. Although this has caused me several breakdowns this summer, there was one that I actually healed myself by doing another performance analysis on myself. Cool as that. Like a project we did last year. I was so overcome with emotions and so overwhelmed with decisions that I truly needed to sit and analyze myself and where the root causes of those emotions were coming from before they spilled out onto others who were just trying to help me. It completely and absolutely worked. Not only did I feel better and understand myself more, but I was able to move forward thinking clearly and communicating more effectively. I mean, that is, she took something, a tool that she brought that back out, and she's a mathematician. She's very methodical. And so this worked for her. It's systematic. There's steps to it. You can take all these spaghetti lines and make sense of something that's extremely personal and emotional as she was going through. And she said, you know, that worked so well. I'm going to do this again a year later because I'm about to blow apart. So part of the, one of the things that I do, not in the leadership class, but I have them write a letter to their future selves. So that first year, write a letter to yourself for a year in the future. Just write some advice, where you want to be. What do you want to tell your future self a year from now? So I have them do this. And then when they come back for a residency, we have 3 residencies. In that second residency, they came back. I handed the letters to them. And part of it was read this letter and then talk about where are you? Do you feel the same as you did a year ago? I do a very similar thing with their projects because they did the project and then they did a reflection on the project. The reflection is as valuable or more valuable than the actual product that they have produced. So not only do they read the letter, they look back at that project that they did a year ago and they're, man, I rocked out. Look at this data I collected. And it also, one of the side things, it created conversations with their family and coworkers that they had not had before. It opened up the space to say, hey, I'm doing this project for my doctorate. And, if you don't mind, would you mind doing the survey about me as an individual? It gave them that door to ask others around them, family, coworkers, just what is your assessment of me? How do you? So it opened that door for that too. And then in the terms of leadership, where are they after a year, after they've done this project? Also reading the reflection. What have they learned? Is it, incredibly surprising of how they've developed in that year? It's almost like doing the pre-test. I used to teach anatomy and physiology. Pre-test, they don't know any of the terms. End of the semester, you give the exact same test. Man, they know all these words. They know what carbonic anhydrase is. Same thing. They're looking back and they're going, man, look at my growth over this past year. This is my space. This is where I was. So just another big change has been my shift in perspective, looking at leadership. She came in as a K-12. It broadened the focus. Now I'm not really in the teaching role anymore. Her role changed, not really her choice, but she felt I'm so much more confident I can actually handle this. I never thought about being in a leadership role, and lo and behold, here I am. And I actually have some skills and knowledge to be able to do this. These courses and the application of leadership to the dissertation practice helped me look at the bigger picture. I'd like to begin reflecting on the impact. Of course, I have my professional academic direction. This is necessary. This is amazing. They're all amazing students because the changes have both directly influenced my reflections on leadership strategies and models. There have been very few academic experiences in my life that I can honestly say that have been as life-changing as this course. Man, this is like, that's really pretty cool. There's a lot of things I want to do with it because when you do something new, you're going, man, this is going to be either really good or it's going to be really bad. So, fortunately, this has ended up being a really neat experience from a lot of different facets. This course challenged to face myself, my needs, what type of leader I want to become. Although it wasn't intention, this course has launched me to a new career path. So I want to end talking about ISPI and how we can help these students. We're an amazing organization. We have amazing thought leaders in the field. I talk about you all the time, connecting our students with the thought leaders, with this organization that is the foundation of what we do. We have 4 students that are here right now. There used to be the case study competition where we had these opportunities to bring our students to interact with practitioners. There's nothing like an authentic, real experience that you go through and you can meet the people that have written these articles that are published in these professional journals. So I don't know what this looks like. I know it's an incredible passion of mine, and I think it's what we are here to do, to be mentors in whatever that may be. It may be students, it could be interns in your business, it can be the new onboarding of employees, whatever that looks like, to have that mentor-mentee relationship, internship. That's our future, whether it's students or interns, new people coming in our business. We have an amazing group here, an amazing process. So much, 60 years of work that has gone into, and just to see we make a difference. Just like he said yesterday, I'm like, oh man, that was so cool. We do. We make an amazing difference. And to be able to spread that, and I learned so much from my students. It's almost like self-serving. Yes, this is a great process. I love leading these classes, but man, I learned 1,000 times more every single day from the students than I will ever deliver in the classroom. So anyway, thank y'all so much. I'm here, questions, anything at all. So thank you.